There's been a suspected attack in the German city of Munich with at least 28 people injured, including 2 seriously, after a car drove into them. Police say the vehicle approached officers before speeding up and hitting people. They've confirmed that the driver was arrested at the scene and no longer poses a danger. Officials say he was known to the police, but don't think the attack is connected to this weekend's security conference. In the last few minutes, the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has been speaking.
This is horrible, what has happened today in Munich. A terrible attack. We don't know all of the details yet, that we will eventually know, but what is clear is that an Afghan perpetrator has severely injured people, and that is not something that we can tolerate or accept. It must be very clear to us that the judiciary must use everything in their power to proceed against this perpetrator. We must use everything in our means. It is incumbent upon me to give you the message that anyone who commits a crime in Germany will not only be punished severely and go to jail, but also they must understand that they might not be able to continue to reside in Germany, and that even applies to being sent back to places that might be very difficult to live in. Therefore, we will be starting flights back. The government will be starting flight backs to Afghanistan despite the lack of diplomatic ties. And although this is complicated, because you can't fly them there directly, this is something that we will continue to do, not just as a one-off, but as a continuous thing. And this is something that may well happen to this perpetrator as well when it has gone through the courts. I would like to once again repeat that this is a horrible thing that has happened, and that for the people of this country, as well as I myself, we stand at the side of the victims, and I hope that everyone may remain permanently healthy as a result of this. And so, once again, I would like to be very clear and say this perpetrator cannot assume that we will be able to remain here. He must be punished and he must leave the country. Thank you.
Well, speaking ahead of the Chancellor, Munich police confirmed that the man being held is a 24-year-old Afghan.
A police car was following the demonstration. Then a vehicle approached it from behind. It approached the police car to overtake it. It then accelerated and drove into the back of the demonstration. My colleagues then took the perpetrator aside, shot once at the vehicle, and the perpetrator was seized. We estimate that at least 28 people are injured, some critically. The exact number of casualties has not yet been determined. Coming now to the perpetrator. He is a 24-year-old Afghan man who has asylum seeker status, but I can't give any further details of his background at the moment.
We also heard from Markus Söder, the Premier of Bavaria, the state of which Munich is the capital.
It's simply terrible, ladies and gentlemen, when you receive the news that someone has driven a car into a crowd of people again, that there are several injured. It's a slap in the face. We feel for the victims, we pray for the victims. We hope very much they all survive.
A witness at the scene said they heard gunshots before the collision happened.
The shock is still big. You'd have to ask me again in a few days. I'm very shocked at the moment. You just don't believe that it could happen before your very eyes. There were already lots of police cars here, I think to form an emergency corridor, and a colleague said the driver drove more slowly as he was approaching them, and then accelerated as he got through into the crowd, and injured almost 10 or 15 people. It's difficult to say. They were part of the demonstration. I heard 1 or maybe 2 gunshots immediately after the car drove into the crowd. I think it was the police, but as I said, we heard gunshots and our gut reaction was to move back from the window. 30 seconds after, I didn't really process. Then we moved forward to look and saw that a few people were lying on the ground.